Okidoki, so this is my opinion on Primal Law, an Alpha Pack novel by J.D. Tyler. So, this one is about Jackson, a wolf shifter, and well, I literally finished this book this afternoon and I cannot remember the main characters' names. I am the worst at this. Absolutely the worst. Come on. Kira. Second book I've read with the main character named Kira, and I can't even remember it. Yeah, so this is a wolf shifter novel. It was a bit more of a mystery than I was expecting it to be. It's short. It's only like 10 hours for the audiobook. I think it did a good job. I think the reader was pretty good. This one is heavier on the sex, I will say that. It's also insta love. I'm not a huge fan of insta love. This one, because this one kind of did something that I wanted to see with this, like, because it's the mating bond that it's like, oh, you have your perfect mate out there, and then it's you see them smack dash, here we go, romance. That it was one of those things that at first the heroine was like, wait, no, I don't want to be with someone I don't love. This should be about being with someone that you love, not a biological mandate. And I was like, all right, I like this. But then it turns out that the guy who's the wolf shifter, Jax, is dying if he doesn't mate with her. Like, it'll literally kill them if they don't mate. And I was like, I like you kind of put a damper on that about them. And it's the thing, it's like they go to we're confessing our love for each other after we've known each other for like a week. So it's one of those things that I was just like, it can take more than just a fucking week to figure out that you love someone. God damn. Um, so Kira, she was okay as a heroine. Like, the whole premise of the story is that she works for this lab and she thinks they're doing some shady genetic mutation shit, and she ends up getting caught, and Jax saves her, and he's, alpha wolf pack, and they spirit her away, and they end up making the connection that there's some shady government conspiratorial crap going on, and that, oh, maybe someone's after them. I will say the powers in this are off the fucking chain. Like, it feels so this is what the plot needs, so this character has this power. Like, Jax is a retrocog, so he can pull like memories and impressions from stuff, which, it's a fine psychic ability. And I was like, okay, I thought that was his only psychic ability, but then no, you find out that he's also a time bender. It came right the fuck out of left field. I was like, huh? And that he can't like time travel. There's no Doctor Who shenaniganery. He can only go back like a couple of minutes. So there was that I was just like, huh? And that there's also like fairies and gremlins and all this stuff. And there's a point where I don't want to say Kira's a special snowflake, but she kind of feels like a special snowflake. I mean, they end up saying that she's an empath, so she has like empathic abilities, so she can sense like when people are telling the truth and like what they're feeling at a moment. And they have like all of these magical creatures basically locked up in this facility that they're like, no, we're trying to rehabilitate them, but they're doing nothing to actually rehabilitate them. Like, they have a psychologist on staff who's not like down there talking to them, like the ones that are actually sentient. There's no one actually down there talking to him. And then Kira rolls up and is like, we need to be helping them. And she goes down there and she instantly starts, like, she talks down two of them right away. That it's like, huh? Snowflakey? A little bit? I don't know. It was just one of those things that they were like, oh, we want to rehabilitate him. But they weren't doing anything about it. It was just like, eh. Oh yeah, the other thing, ending spoilers, because this was the why she gave him this time bending thing, was there's a whole point. His whole thing is that he was with this woman, and she ended up betraying him and his team, and he got part of his team killed. I thought from reading the synopsis, it got his whole team killed, like he was a sole survivor kind of thing. No, it got like half his team killed. So there's still like half his team kicking around. So that's where I thought it was a little weird when I was like, wait, this, because it starts with a prologue of that betrayal and his team getting killed. But then it's like in the next scene, there's some of them that are still around. And I was like, wait, these guys are still alive. Some of them did survive because I thought it was a full team wipeout. So yeah, he's got some guilt for that, but it's not super crippling. Because then the thing at the end of it is like they go to try to bust out the, because of course the evil corporation is experimenting on who they think they've got some of their companions that they actually survived and that they're experimenting on them. So they go to try to bust them out and it ends up being a trap because of course it's a trap. And his ex, who he thought he killed, is actually still alive. And it comes down to a point where Kira, because she ends up getting turned into a werewolf because they mate and he has to bite her, so she gets turned. That she goes and one of the guys gets captured and she's trying to save him. She ends up getting killed in the process, and I was just like, oh, that's the reason for the time bending. You wanted to have this big dramatic moment, but not stick with it. And I mean, the thing is like they've only known each other for like a month, and they are at the "I will die for you" romance levels, and I'm like, I think that's one thing I really don't like about the mating bond thing is that it's a shortcut to the good parts where you're at the "I will confess my undying love for you after I've known you for a week," even though it's like, God, relationships are more than that. It takes time, and I get it. It's for the fantasy. It's to get to the good parts, to get to the drama. But I don't know. I like seeing relationships develop, not just magic. We are now a couple. So yeah, I liked the characters in this, to be honest. Like again, Kira a little snowflakey, but a lot of the other characters I liked. A lot of the side characters are pretty good. Oh, another trait or trope I don't really like is one of the characters has future vision, foresight, whatever you want to call it. I can call him precog, but he can see the future. But they do the thing I hate with foresight where it's you can see the future, but it's the, well, I can't do anything to change it because I don't know how it's going to affect things. I can't fuck with people's free will. And I was like, then what is the point of seeing the future? Like, if you can't do anything about it, if you can't change what you see, why have it? Like, at least, okay, with the Night Hunter series, Carries did have foresight. Oh, there we go, another Tenuk power, I forgot. That he has foresight. But for him, his foresight is sometimes metaphorical, or it's not entirely clear what is going to happen. So it's like with that one, yeah, you have some room for interpretational errors, and his precognition isn't, at least with Carries, it isn't on the spot. That's actually part of the plot of his solo book. It's his foresight is basically on the fritz. That it's like, okay, that makes sense, but Mancari still does use his foresight to try to affect events and change the outcome of situations. So it's valid where this foresight, the guy's literally like, I can't tell you what's going to happen. And I'm like, then why can you see the future if it doesn't do anything? It just makes him all tortured and broody, and I'm sure he gets a romance later on. So yeah, I gave this one a 2 out of 5 on Goodreads. Not great. I didn't hate it. There wasn't anything about it that I was like I absolutely hated, but I just didn't like it. It's not even a middle of the road one for me. It's on the downside of eh. I just didn't really care for it. So there we go. That is the first one of these three. I have started listening to uh, Shadow Rider. That's the next one. That yeah, I will save my thoughts on that. I don't know. The premise is interesting so far, but I will save my thoughts on that for later. So yeah, Primal Law. Man, I keep trying to find one of these wolf shifter ones that I actually like, but so far I have been 0 for 2 on the wolf shifters of not a fan. I don't know. I guess maybe it's just because it's they usually use the mating thing as part of it, as part of the premise, and I'm not really a fan of that. Like I like the concept of the mating is cool, but I hate how really it's just a loose substitute for your one true love, and that it's the idea of a one true love that you actually are aware of, and it's just used as a okay, let's skip over the getting to know each other. Oh, I actually like you, or I'd like to maybe see a story about mates where it's like a mate bond, where they don't get along, or like, I mean, I don't know if I'd want a full Romeo and Juliet thing where they mate bond, or something where it still takes time for them to actually fall in love with each other. Like, yeah, they know they're destined to be with each other. I mean, you can even throw in the it'll kill them if they're not thing, just to force them together. But, something where their relationship still has to bloom from the mating bond, that it's not, well, we're mated now, within a week I am confessing my love for you. I don't know, maybe that's just a book I would like to see written. Who knows, maybe I'll stumble across one eventually. So yeah, Primal Law, not my thing. Wolf Shifters so far 0-2. So yeah, and that's just my opinion.